Hey guys, so it's me, Nicolette Mashile, and today I want to talk a little bit about building versus buying a property. Now remember that none of my videos constitute as financial advice. If you are looking for financial advice, please speak to somebody who is registered with the FSCA and is certified to give financial advice. So this argument for me is really difficult to have because it's a debate that is really dependent on so many factors, and from either side of the coin everybody can argue for their own side, right? And one thing that I actually came across the other day as I was looking for information on the internet is that one of our very famous entrepreneurs and motivational speakers in this country argued that you are not an entrepreneur if you buy a franchise versus somebody who builds their own business. And the reason why I bring this up is because I liken it quite a lot to building versus buying. Now, I don't know maybe I don't know what the definition of entrepreneur is. And perhaps I don't understand what a business person is and what's the difference between a business person and an entrepreneur. I guess maybe an entrepreneur is somebody that starts their own brand and builds a brand and becomes very sustainable. And a business person, who's also called an entrepreneur at the same time, is somebody that runs a business. I don't know, whatever. But it is something that I liken also to the same debate of whether do I buy or do I build. Now, I always say both of these arguments have their own pros and have their own cons. And let's start with the argument for actually buying, right? If you're buying a property, generally within 3 months of you starting to look for your property, you probably can move in once you've secured your bond, or you've paid cash, or you've paid your deposit, it's been transferred in your name. You can literally move in with you can move your family in and you can start your life, right? The other argument that you get for buying something that is already existing is that, the municipal accounts have all been sorted. Everything literally, it's almost like moving into a ready-made house. So everything is already ready for you. It's just a means of transferring of ownership into your own name. Generally, also the stands, especially if it's sectional titles, are in far better areas because obviously the property developers have already bid for the stands, right? Sorry. Ooh, something touched my leg there. I got so scared. So anyway, so these places are generally closer to CBDs, they're closer to shopping malls because the property developer also fitted in with the town planning, right? So there will be like CBDs, there'll be a school, there'll be a shopping center very close by, or it might even be close to traffic, public transport routes. So those are some of the benefits that you get when you are buying, right? And then also, if you don't want to deal with issues of having to find the perfect toilet or the perfect bathtub, are you getting a French bathtub? Are you getting one that has got like a fountain that's at the top of your head? So all those things are kind of taken care of for you. And you can actually improve as you go. So as you go and you've bought and it's already in your name, you can start improving, right? Obviously, the cons of buying is the fact that it might be an old property. The land size might not be what you wanted. The finishes of the house might not be appropriate to you. You don't get to build according to your own style. So these are things that already are existing that you're walking into. And often it is attributed that it's more expensive to buy an existing property because of its legacy. Remember, it's move from owner to owner to owner, whereas if you are actually building, it is yours from the start. You're the first owner. You kind of can work around the building costs. Here is the other argument now for building. Again, as I've already insinuated, oh, that's the word, the fact that you are building to your own architect, your own plan, it's yours, it belongs to you, it's your finishes, it's everything that you have ever wanted, right? And so there's various other reasons as to why you would build. Some people say it's cheaper, and it's probably because it's cheaper because building material is probably much cheaper than if you are buying an already existing house. There are no legacy issues. There probably are not really many mistakes or any patent and latent defects with the house because it's really being built from scratch and you are able to monitor every single step. What are some of the cons of building? Well, it is a time-consuming process, especially if you are not somebody who comes from the construction space. I mean, personally, for me, it's not something that I would look into right now. With my very busy schedule, I would not be able to build because I would not be able to go and look at what, and you know, kind of, what's the word, monitor what is actually happening. Even if you do get a contractor, you know, contractors also are trying to make their own money. So I don't want somebody who's going to be cutting costs on my house, who's going to be using cheap material. For instance, in this house that I currently live in, if I have more than 10 people over the weekend, my toilets clog. My father, being an engineer, somebody's built a house before, came and said to me, well, look, the pipes that were used in this house are incredibly small. So it's, you know, those are things that have already been done. For me to be able to fix all those things, somebody needs to dig it out. Now, obviously, this is a mistake that happened in a house that I actually bought, but it can happen in a house that you're actually building. People that are building can also become mean. If the contractor doesn't pay them on time, they don't care that the house doesn't belong to the contractor. They can even put cement in your drains, guys, and block your drains. I've heard of a story where the building guys, the building team, actually put cement in the draining pipes because the contractor didn't pay them on time. So it's a huge time consuming process. It's also a monitoring thing. You also need to know what the hell is happening. Some of us can't even do simple taxi maths. We can't do simple taxi maths. We can't calculate x. We can't do angles. We don't know geometry. We don't get trigonometry. So how are you actually going to calculate whether this wall is the right measurements? You know, sometimes contractors get paint colors wrong and they will paint the whole house with a different color that you didn't want, and you either gotta settle for what they've painted with or you gotta repaint, and it costs money. You're gonna start cutting costs and corners. So there's quite a lot of things. And the other thing is that land is also very expensive. In a country where we are crying over land, it is probably one of the most expensive and property assets that you're ever going to buy is land. So you need to factor in the land cost and the building cost in that entire process, right? And also, again, prime land in prime spaces has been taken out. So has been taken up. So most places that people are going to be building are in estates. And remember that when you buy land and you have not started building, it also means that you are paying rates and taxes for that land. And in most estates, if you are buying land to build, I'm not saying all, they've got their own building plans and their own designs and they've got their own restrictions. So it becomes really crazy if you are building in there. So again, I hope that I've demonstrated some pros and cons for both building and for buying. And remember that when you do build, it's your house. It's to your liking. But at the same time, even a house that you have bought, if it's not sectional title and you've got full title, there are things that you can still change, provided that there aren't any restrictions. And the last but not least thing, it really does depend on your pocket. For some people, it is cheaper to buy. For some people, it's cheaper to build. For sometimes, it also does depend on area. You know, I know that kokasi, komagaing, it's probably better at home, at the homesteads. It's better to probably build because you can take your time. You know, you're not in a hurry to finish off. You know, so it's probably cheaper to build, and you do get building loans. By the way, guys. You do not need to use your credit card or your personal loan or revolving loan to pay for a building thingy. You can get what is called a building loan, but then it means that you need to comply with all the necessary requirements for you to be able to get that building loan. In the suburbs, sometimes it is easier to just buy what is already existing, right? Because it saves you time, it's in prime location, the cost might not be as big as you think it is. So again, it's different strokes for different folks. So you got to choose what works for you, what doesn't work for you. So again, I don't know if the argument is one that we should even be having based on cost or based on location or based on whatever. But at the end of the day, I think it's based on personal preferences.